Hey everybody, Anish Majumdar here, career coach to the fiercely ambitious, expert in helping people just like you tap into the hidden job market and turbocharge your career prospects. Happy that you guys are here. Happy to be rocking and rolling with you guys. And what are we all here to talk about, right? We're here to make sure that if you are in a position where you are either executing or wanting to or thinking about executing a covert job search, in other words, a job search where you don't want other people to know what is going on, this is for you, all right? And I would consider this must-know information because I see people making this issue and making this problem and some of these missteps all the time, and it is really curtailing the number of offers that they're being exposed to, okay? So really, really critical. If I could ask you guys for a quick favor before we jump into these tips, please take a second to follow me on LinkedIn. I regularly will share, me and my team, daily career tips and advice that actually is working, as opposed to what we would like to be working. And so if that interests you, please take a second, put in the word Anish, put in career. I should be the first person that you see pop up. It would really mean a lot to me. All right. So let's move into tip number 1. Okay. Create a dedicated email address and phone number for your job search. Never use your work email or phone. Cannot stress this enough, okay? It doesn't take much to do that. You can go over to Google or G Suite. You could create a new email account for free. Make sure it's like a variation of, don't try to get clever. Make it a variation of your first and last name so it comes across as professional, and boom, that's the email address that you want to have in your resume. You probably want to have it in your contact information for your LinkedIn profile. That is your job search email, right? So all job search, interviewing, offer-related communications happens there, right? It's amazing to me how many people are conducting job searches with their work email there, right? And it just is beyond looking like it's not serious in the eyes of employers. It is an unbelievably dangerous thing for you to do that. I don't care how good of a relationship you have with your boss, how well you think they know that you're leaving. It is tremendously damaging to give them essentially a paper trail of what you're doing during work hours, essentially, right? Don't do it. All right. The other thing, definitely, I would. There's an app called the Burner app. I use that. There's other alternatives, but that's the one that I use. I use that as part of my iPhone. When I download that app, I can create a second number. That activates, my phone functions the way that it does, only I get to see, this is a work-related call, right? Because it's coming on my work phone. That's the number that's on my resume. That's the number that's on my LinkedIn profile. And again, there's a separation of church and state there. And I really, really, really think that is important, not just in terms of keeping you safe, but making sure that your mentality is right? If I'm going in to talk with a Fortune 500 CEO, I don't want to be carrying the stink of a job that's not really working or the overwhelm, right? And so a lot of times by having that bifurcation, it helps me flip into that mode, right? Flip into that future state mode so that it can help you psychologically as well. So definitely I would do this. Tip number 2, activate LinkedIn's open to work feature, but do not add the photo badge. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about there, guys. So you guys know what I mean. It's very important that you get this right. If you go to here and you go to view profile, you're going to get to this page and you're going to go to open to, and you're going to hit this finding a new job. Right? When you do this, okay, you want to add a couple of job titles, not 10, not 15 job titles. I'm talking about max 3 or 4, okay? And the highest level ones. If your target is to be a CIO, chief information officer should be the role that you put in here, right? Or variations of that, right? So that means spend a little bit of time pulling up your competitors, pull up people who are frankly more successful than you, who have real similarity to you. Take a look at their roles, take a look at their professions, put a couple here. That will really help, right? What types of workplaces, what kinds of job locations, what types of jobs, then you're going to add to profile, okay? Now, when you add this to the profile, I'm not going to do that, right? But when you add to the profile like that, it's going to ask you whether you also want to change this and add this open to work badge. I strongly recommend that you don't do that. The reason why is because, I'm just going to deactivate the screen share here for a sec. The reason why is because in our testing, there has been 0 positive uplift for having that photo badge. And in fact, what we've often find is that in the eyes of employers, sometimes it looks kind of desperate, right? We all, it's the dating analogy, right? We want to date someone who's hotly in demand. We want to be a part of a company that's hotly in demand. We want to hire people who are hotly in demand. We don't really want desperate job seekers, right? So that's the way that I would handle the open to work. Tip number 3, Make sure that your resume and LinkedIn profile is current, of course, update that if you haven't, and that the top sections of each align to high level impact, right? What does that mean? The top third of your resume should not start with professional experience, should not start with what my objective is. It should be about what's your process, what's your methodology, what's your way of moving this company forward, right? To use that chief information officer analogy, right? I want to think about me as a strategic partner to this business, right? What's my process? Maybe what I can do is I'm an expert in bringing technology into the strategic element of the business and then working as the point man all the way through. So you don't have to think about this as this external. It's going to cost you way less. We're going to innovate way faster, and I can be the point person to do it. There's a lot of ways that you can do it, but you got to have some kind of a stance there. And it cannot be excessively salesy and it cannot be excessively consulting-y. Let me give you some examples, okay? Because both of those things will turn people off if you're not careful, right? So if I, let me just show you a couple of examples here, okay? Take a look at Lubosh, right? So he's let's say Lubosh is in job search mode. He's building relationships. Take a look at his amazing profile. Take a look at this, right? Pharma and biotech executive, committed growth hacker, and commercial transformation. This guy is doing things on his own, right? This guy's profile, his thing is doing things on his own, is moving it forward. That's what you want. That's the impression, right? Mike, senior technical leader of digital, he knows who he is, right? Bring me your large complex problems and I will help you solve them, right? When businesses are struggling, here's what we did. Here's a couple of details, right? I'm not just waiting for any job, right? Fierce promoter of customer-centered human resources. Now she's using a number, right? But she's a freaking rock star, so she can get away with it. If you can get away with it and you know that you're going to have a dramatic double, triple digit increase in any company, by all means highlight it in the profile the way that she has. But what you're not seeing in any of these profiles is desperate. What you're not seeing is unemployed. What you're not seeing is please help anyone, help me find a job, right? That's not cool. That's not going to work for you, right? You've got to make sure that you have some stance, you've got some credibility, and you've got some power on your own, right? You've got some initiative on your own, right? A couple of other tips, okay? Once you've done that, develop a LinkedIn targeting and messaging strategy. You've got to think, how can I regularly bring new people into my world? How can I start building new relationships, right? If I've set up my brand in this way, then the appeal of that brand, as well as my commitment to say, hey, let's start meeting new people. Let's start seeing what they're about. Let me start learning what's going on there, and let me see what I can do to help, right? If you do that, right, you might say, okay, I'm targeting, broadly speaking, CXOs, senior VPs in these industries with this many years of experience who are experiencing some of that, right? What does that look like? That would be, broadly speaking, your target list, right? Then you would think about a series of messages to warm these people up, right? What kind of a connection request would you have? What would the commonality be, right? What would the follow-up be after they've accepted? What would the value message be? If you want to add some value and deepen that rapport, how would you pivot into a call? And how can you scale all of this? LinkedIn should be, after you've done these things, your preliminary place, your preliminary driver of this kind of stuff. It is critically, critically, critically important. 90% of all executive roles are identified, filled, without a job posting ever coming into play. And why? It's because people are caring enough to build the relationships first, without having that resume sneakily there, right? They want to help first. They want to see what's going on. And in so doing, they put themselves in the optimal position to identify pain before it's made it out there to the public. That's the way that you want to think about this. On the heels of that, you also do not want to be thinking about setting up 1 hour plus interviews. How are you going to do that if you're currently in a job anyway, right? How many times can your son or daughter need to get pulled out of school or this before the alarm bells start going off, right? So what I would do, think about, when you're thinking about targeting and messaging people on LinkedIn, think about those initial calls as essentially being screener calls, right? Getting to know, building rapport, what's going on with you and your team, what are the biggest challenges, what's going to make this a success, what's not. Use that information, right? And have an understanding that, hey, some of these, screener calls are going to directly pivot into, like, I'm going to identify, whoa, this is high-level tech pain that needs to be solved. No one's doing it there, including their tech team. Let's talk further about this. Who do we need to get involved, right? The goal is to use what you uncover in these calls as the thing that you follow up with, not the job posting. Do you see? So think about it in short bursts like that. Short bursts like that you can also pull off as sometimes at work, sometimes in a working capacity. And I'm not going to lie to you, I think about that all the time, right? I want to make as much traction as I can before the wheels come off the bus, right? Because from a perception standpoint, you will never have more leverage than when you're gainfully employed, when you're looking to leverage that to a higher level. So I want to keep that going. And these types of calls versus hour and a half are way, way, way easier to do, right? Finally, Clarify what's working and what's not with your current boss. Move on what you can, but above all, make sure there are. I'm just going to, sorry, I just realized I was still sharing the screen here. Clarify what's working and what's not with your current boss. Move on what you can, but above all, make sure there are zero surprises about you leaving. Okay, they failed to keep you. Simple as that. That is the message that underneath this you want to be thinking about behind accountability. That's the true reason for it, right? So I don't care how many times you've been trying to make change happen. Send them an email. Hey, I just want to make sure you understand. Even though we talked about this, there's not much movement going on here. In the meantime, me and my team were working on X, Y, and Z. Are you on board with that? Yep, sounds good. Great. Next month, here's what's going on. As again, I see this problem. It's not happening. However, we've made progress here. Just wanted to keep you apprised, right? That way, right? When you leave, it's not going to be a surprise. No one's going to say you were blindsided, right? You were very, very clear. This was a divergence, not of someone lazy, not of someone who didn't fit in. This was a divergence of where we should go and what we should do. It's on you, boss. It's on you, company, for not moving forward. And you can't blame me for moving into a situation that will. It is very important that you CYA cover your ass right from the beginning of a covert job search, not at the end. When you have an offer, it's already too late. You are definitely blindsiding your boss and your employer, no matter what the current situation is. It is up to you to be proactive in that communication. All right, guys, I hope that helps. Let me give you guys a special invite here. If you want to take your covert job search to the next level, grab this link, tap the hidden job market/ASAP. For a limited time, we are offering free access to our masterclass. This is the exact strategy that our clients have used to generate well over 600 million in hidden job market offers. No job postings in the past 3 years. If you're interested in that, this is a no bullshit teaching heavy course that will get you there and take you much further. You should already know, listening to this, whether this is going to work for you or not, or whether you're going to get value. And if so, what else do you have going on that's going to be more important than your destiny, where you're going? If you don't stick up for that and take an action, it is never going to happen. Keep the questions coming, guys. I hope this training was helpful. Keep the questions moving, and above all, take action. Talk soon.